humming? It's been 3 hours since we first heard it drifting through the trees, and I can't shake the feeling that it's getting closer. Ben thinks I'm losing it, but Zoe hears it too. She won't admit it, but I see the way her eyes dart toward the forest when that melody starts up. We're sitting around our campfire, the one we apparently built, but don't remember building, and the flames are doing this weird thing where they flicker in rhythm with the humming. Ben's got his back to the woods, stubbornly focused on his phone even though we haven't had signal since we can't remember when. Tyler, you're doing that thing again, Zoe says, her voice gentle but strained. That thing where you chew your lip when you're about to do something stupid. I stopped chewing my lip. I'm not going to do anything stupid. Famous last words. Ben mutters, not looking up from his phone. Right up there with what could go wrong, and I'll be right back. But the humming is getting louder, and it's beautiful in a way that makes my chest ache. Like a lullaby my mom used to sing, but wrong somehow. Twisted. The melody keeps shifting, becoming something else entirely when I try to focus on it. Guys, I say, standing up and brushing dirt off my jeans. I think we need to check it out. No. Ben's voice is flat, final. Absolutely not. We've been over this. Weird shit happens in these woods. We stick together, we stay by the fire, we wait for morning. But what if someone needs help? The words come out before I can stop them. And I know how they sound. I know Ben's gonna roll his eyes and launch into his whole speech about horror movie logic. But there's something about that humming that feels familiar, like I've heard it before. Zoe stands up too, and I can see the internal war playing out on her face. She's always been the one who can sense things the rest of us miss, and right now she's picking up on something that's making her nervous. Tyler, she says carefully, what if it's not someone who needs help? What if it's something else? The humming stops. Just like that, the forest goes dead silent. No insects, no wind, no rustling leaves. Even our fire stops crackling. The silence is so complete it makes my ears ring. Okay, Ben says slowly, finally looking up from his phone. That's officially not normal. And then my voice calls out from the darkness. Help me. It's my voice. Exactly my voice. But I'm standing right here and my mouth isn't moving. Ben and Zoe both turn to stare at me and I see my own confusion reflected in their faces. Please, my voice calls again, and this time I can hear the desperation in it. I'm lost. I can't find my way back to camp. What the hell? Ben whispers. Zoe grabs my arm. Tyler, that's not you, right? Tell me, that's not you. It's not me, I say, but even as the words leave my mouth, I'm not entirely sure. Because that voice, it sounds exactly like me when I'm scared. And there's something in the inflection, the way it pronounced lost, that's so perfectly me it makes my skin crawl. Tyler, please, the voice calls again. And now it's closer. Maybe 50 yards into the tree line. I followed the humming, but now I can't find my way back. It's so dark. Ben is on his feet now, and I can see his hand shaking. This isn't happening. This is not happening. But it is happening, and as much as every rational part of my brain is screaming at me to stay put, to listen to Ben, to not be the idiot who wanders into the dark forest when creepy shit is going down, I can't ignore the sound of my own voice begging for help. I have to go, I say. No, you don't, Zoe says firmly. Tyler, think about this. If that's really you calling for help, then who are you? Because you're standing right here. Maybe it's an echo, I say, but even I don't believe it. Echoes don't work like that. Echoes don't continue conversations. Tyler, I'm getting scared, my voice calls from the darkness, and the fear in it is so real, so genuine, that it makes my chest tighten. There's something wrong with this place. Something really wrong. You think? Ben says sarcastically, but his voice cracks on the words. I take a step toward the forest and Zoe's grip on my arm tightens. Don't, she whispers. Please don't. I have a really bad feeling about this. But my voice is calling again, and now it's not just asking for help, it's begging. can see lights. It says, moving lights. They're all around me and they're getting closer. Please, I need you to come get me. I need you to come now. The lights. My blood turns to ice water. We've seen those lights before, flickering through the trees like fireflies that move too fast, too purposefully. Ben called them St. Elmo's fire, some kind of electrical phenomenon, but they felt wrong. They felt alive. Tyler, Zoe says. And there's something in her voice I've never heard before, pure terror. Look at the fire. I look down at our campfire and the flames are bending. Actually bending. Like they're being pulled toward the forest. And in the flames I can see shapes, faces. And one of them looks exactly like me. The lights are moving. My voice calls from the darkness. And now it's frantic. They're circling me. Oh God. They're circling me. Tyler, please, I need you to... The voice cuts off with a sound that's part scream, part static, part something else entirely. Something that makes my teeth ache and my vision blur. That's it, Ben says, his voice barely controlled. We're leaving, right now. We pack up, we get in the car, and we drive until we hit civilization. We can't leave, I say, and I'm surprised by how steady my voice sounds. If that's really me out there, it's not you, Ben shouts. You're right here. That thing out there, whatever it is, it's not you. But even as he says it, I can see the doubt in his eyes. Because how do you explain something like this? How do you rationalize hearing your own voice calling for help from the darkness? Tyler, Zoe says quietly, what if it's not just your voice? What if it's you? What if you're out there, and you're here, and this whole thing is more complicated than we thought? The idea sends a chill through me that has nothing to do with the cold night air, because there's something about this place. Something about the way time seems to slip and slide, the way our memories feel fuzzy around the edges that makes impossible things feel possible. I have to go, I say again, and this time I mean it. I have to know. Then we all go, Zoe says, and her voice is stronger now, more determined. We stick together. That's the rule, right? We don't split up. Ben looks like he wants to argue, but he doesn't. Maybe because he knows we're right. Maybe because he's just as curious as we are, even if he won't admit it. Or maybe because he's too scared to be left alone with whatever's happening to our campfire. The flames are still bending toward the forest, and now I can hear something else underneath the crackling. Whispers. Dozens of them. All speaking at once in voices I almost recognize. Fine, Ben says, grabbing his backpack, but we stay together. No matter what happens out there, we stay together. I nod, grabbing my flashlight and checking the batteries. The light is steady, bright, but somehow it feels inadequate against the darkness pressing in around us. Ready? I ask. Neither of them answer, but they both nod. We step into the forest and immediately the temperature drops 20 degrees. My breath comes out in invisible puffs and I can feel the cold seeping through my jacket. The trees seem closer together here, their branches reaching out like grasping fingers. Tyler? I call out, and the sound of my own voice calling my own name makes me dizzy. I'm here. Can you hear me? No response. Just the sound of our footsteps on dead leaves and the distant crackling of our abandoned campfire. This is insane, Ben mutters behind me. We're literally following Tyler's voice to find Tyler. Do you understand how insane that is? I understand, Zoe says. But her voice is distant, distracted. Tyler, look at your flashlight. I look down, and my blood freezes. The beam of my flashlight is bending. Actually bending. Like light can be folded, twisted, redirected. And it's pointing deeper into the forest towards something I can't see. The lights, I whisper, they're here. And they are. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, flickering through the trees like stars that have fallen to earth. They're beautiful and terrible at the same time, pulsing with a rhythm that matches my heartbeat. They're moving, Zoe breathes. She's right. The lights are converging, forming patterns, shapes. And as they get closer, I can see that they're not just lights. They're reflections. Fragments of light bouncing off surfaces that shouldn't exist, creating impossible geometries in the darkness. Tyler, my voice calls again, and now it's coming from everywhere at once. They're all around me. I can see them clearly now. They're not just lights, they're... The voice trails off, but I can fill in the blank, because I can see what they are now. They're consciousness, pure thought given form, fragments of minds that have been broken apart and scattered like shattered glass. We need to go back, Ben says, but his voice is dreamy, hypnotized. We need to go back right now. But I can't move. The lights are so beautiful, so mesmerizing, and they're showing me things. Memories that aren't mine, experiences that belong to someone else. I can see a laboratory, sterile and white, with machines that hum with the same melody I heard by the campfire. I can see a man in a lab coat, his face twisted with grief and obsession, working feverishly on something that pulses with unnatural life. The consciousness transfer, I whisper, and I don't know where the words come from. They were trying to transfer consciousness. What? Zoe's voice seems to come from very far away. The experiments, I say. And now I'm remembering things that never happened to me. They were trying to move human consciousness from one body to another. But it went wrong. It broke apart. Created fragments. Tyler, Ben says, and his voice is sharp with panic. Tyler, we need to leave. Now! But I can't leave, because I can see him now standing in the middle of the light swarm. Another me, exactly like me, but his eyes are wrong. They're too bright, too knowing. And when he smiles, I can see that his teeth are too sharp. Finally, he says, and his voice is my voice, but not my voice. I've been waiting for you. You're not real, I say. But even as I say it, I know it's not true. He's as real as I am. Maybe more real. I'm as real as you are, he says, echoing my thoughts. I'm the part of you that followed the humming. The part that couldn't resist the call. The part that always has to know. Always has to investigate. Always has to be the hero. Tyler, Zoe says behind me, and I can hear her moving closer. Tyler, that's not you. That's something else wearing your face. But the other me is laughing now, and the sound is like breaking glass. She's right, he says. I'm not you, I'm better. I'm what you could become if you just stopped fighting it. If you just let the lights in. The swarm is getting closer, and I can feel them pressing against my skin like warm water. They're trying to get inside, to merge with me, to make me part of the pattern. Don't, I say, but my voice is weak, uncertain. It doesn't hurt, the other me says. It's beautiful. You'll understand everything. You'll be part of something bigger. Tyler, Ben's voice is desperate now. We have to go. But I can't move. The lights are inside me now, showing me visions of what I could become. I could be eternal. Part of the swarm, part of the pattern. I could understand everything, know everything, be everything. Tyler, Zoe says, and suddenly her hand is on my arm, solid and warm and real. Tyler, look at me. I turn to look at her, and her eyes are clear, unclouded by the lights. She's fighting them, resisting their pull. That's not you, she says firmly. That's what they want you to become. But you're stronger than that. You're better than that. Am I ask, and I genuinely don't know. Yes, she says. You are. Because you care about us. You care about Ben and me more than you care about yourself. That's why you wanted to investigate in the first place. Not because you're curious, but because you thought someone might need help. The other me is still smiling, but now there's something desperate in his expression. She's lying, he says. She's trying to keep you from understanding, from becoming what you're meant to be. And what's that? I ask. Free, he says. Free from doubt, from fear, from the weight of caring about people who will only hold you back. Tyler, Ben says, and his voice is closer now. The lights are fading. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. He's right. The swarm is losing its coherence, the light's beginning to scatter. The other me is flickering, becoming transparent. You can't fight it forever, he says, and now his voice is fading too. The pattern is stronger than you are. The loop is stronger than you are. You'll be back, and next time, you'll understand. Maybe, I say. but not tonight. The lights scatter completely, and the other me vanishes with a sound like a dying radio signal. The forest returns to normal. Or what passes for normal in this place. The temperature rises. My flashlight beam straightens and I can hear insects again. Jesus, Ben breathes. What the hell was that? A fragment, I say, though I'm not sure where the knowledge comes from. A piece of consciousness that got separated from the whole. It was trying to make me like it. Did it work? Zoe asks quietly. I consider the question. Part of me is different now. I can feel it. Part of me understands things I didn't understand before. But the core of me, the part that cares about my friends, that wants to protect them, that's still intact. No, I say. It didn't work. We walk back to camp in silence, and I notice that our fire is burning normally again. The flames are orange and steady, and there are no faces in them. Whatever hold the lights had on this place has been broken, at least temporarily. We need to leave, Ben says as we sit down around the fire. First light, we pack up and we get out of here. We can't, I say, and I'm surprised by how certain I sound. There are others. Other fragments, other pieces of consciousness trapped here. And there's something else, something controlling them. How do you know that? Zoe asks. I saw it, I say. When the lights were in my head, I saw glimpses of what this place really is. It's not just a camping spot. It's a testing ground. Someone's been luring people here, experimenting on them. Experimenting how? Ben asks, but I can see in his eyes that he doesn't really want to know. Consciousness transfer, I say. They were trying to move human consciousness from one body to another. But the process breaks people apart, creates fragments. And those fragments are trapped here, in a loop, replaying their final moments over and over. That's impossible, Ben says, but there's no conviction in his voice. Is it? I ask. After what we just saw? After what we've experienced since we got here? He doesn't answer, but I can see him thinking, trying to rationalize what can't be rationalized. So what do we do? Zoe asks. We figure out who's responsible, I say. We find out what really happened here, and we stop it. Tyler, Ben says carefully, what if we can't stop it? What if we're just 3 college kids who stumbled into something way bigger than we can handle? Then we try anyway, I say. Because that's what you do when people need help. You try. Zoe nods, and after a moment, Ben does too. Okay, he says. But we stick together. No matter what. No splitting up. No investigating strange sounds alone. No following mysterious lights into the forest. Agreed, I say. Though even as I say it, I can hear something in the distance. Not humming this time, but voices. Familiar voices. Calling out in languages I don't recognize but somehow understand. The loop is starting again, and this time we're going to be ready for it.